We continue the Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation with Surat Kahf, the cave, Ayat 56. We only send the messengers to give glad tidings and to give warnings, but the unbelievers dispute with vain argument in order therewith to weaken the truth, and they treat my signs as a jest, as also the fact that they are warned. And who doth more wrong than one who is reminded of the signs of his Lord, but turns away from them, forgetting the deeds which his hands have sent forth? Verily we have set veils over their hearts, lest they should understand this, and over their ears deafness. If thou callest them to guidance, even then will they never accept guidance. But your Lord is most forgiving, full of mercy. If he were to call them at once to account for what they have earned, then surely he would have hastened their punishment. But they have their appointed time, beyond which they will find no refuge. Such were the populations we destroyed when they committed iniquities, but we fixed an appointed time for their destruction. Behold, Moses said to his attendant, I will not give up until I reach the junction of the two seas, or I spend years and years in travel. But when they reached the junction, they forgot about their fish, which took its course through the sea, straight as in a tunnel. When they had passed on some distance, Moses said to his attendant, Bring us our early meal. Truly we have suffered much fatigue at this stage of our journey. He replied, Sawest thou what happened when we betook ourselves to the rock? I did indeed forget about the fish. None but Satan made me forget to tell you about it. It took its course through the sea in a marvelous way. Moses said that was what we were seeking after, so they went back on their footsteps, following the path they had come. So they found one of our servants on whom we had bestowed mercy from ourselves, and whom we had taught knowledge from our own presence. Moses said to him, May I follow thee on the footing that thou teachest me something of the higher truth which thou hast been taught? The other said, Verily thou wilt not be able to have patience with me, and how canst thou have patience about things about which thy understanding is not complete? Moses said, Thou wilt find me, if God so will, truly patient, nor shall I disobey thee in aught. And the other said, If then thou wouldst follow me, ask me no questions about anything until I myself speak to thee concerning it. So they both proceeded until when they were in the boat, he scuttled it. Said Moses, Hast thou scuttled it in order to drown those in it? Truly a strange thing hast thou done. He answered, Did I not tell thee that thou canst have no patience with me? Moses said, Rebuke me not for forgetting, nor grieve me by raising difficulties in my case. Then they proceeded until when they met a young man, he slew them. Moses said, Hadst thou slain an innocent person who had slain none? Truly a foul, unheard of thing hast thou done. He answered, Did I not tell thee that thou canst have no patience with me? Moses said, If ever I ask thee about anything after this, keep me not in thy company. Then wouldst thou have reached full excuse from my side. Then they proceeded until when they came to the inhabitants of a town, and they asked them for food, but they refused them hospitality. They found there a wall on the point of falling down, but he set it up straight. Moses said, if thou hadst wished, surely thou couldst have exacted some recompense for it. He answered, this is the parting between me and thee. Now will I tell thee the interpretation of those things over which thou wast unable to hold patience. As for the boat, it belonged to certain men in dire want. They plied on the water, but I wished to render it unserviceable, for there was after them a certain king who seized on every boat by force. As for the youth, his parents were people of faith, and we feared that he would grieve them by obstinate rebellion and ingratitude to God and humanity. So we desired that their Lord would give them in exchange a son, better in purity of conduct and closer in affection. As for the wall, it belonged to two youths, orphans in the town. There was beneath it a buried treasure to which they were entitled. Their father had been a righteous man, so thy Lord desired that they should attain their age of full strength and get out their treasure of mercy and favor from thy Lord. It did not I did it not of my own accord. Such is the interpretation of those things over which thou wast unable to hold patience. They ask thee concerning the two-horned one. Say, I will rehearse to you something of his story. Verily, we established his power on earth, and we gave him the ways and the means to all ends. One such way he followed, until when he reached the setting of the sun, he found it set in a spring of murky water. Near it, he found a people. We said, O two-horned one, thou hast authority. Thou hast authority, is in parentheses, either to punish them or to treat them with kindness. And, until the time when they saw the sun set. So we're having multiple references in this verse linguistically that the Quran never claims that the sun sets in a murky water or that it rises, out of the ocean on the other side. This is just when we witness, from certain places, the perception, because he found it, it's not that it was that. He found like it was the case. He said, whoever doth wrong, him shall we punish, then shall he be sent back to his Lord, and he will punish him with a punishment unheard of before. But whoever believes and works righteousness, he shall have a goodly reward, and easy will be his task, as we order it by our command. Then followed he another way until when he came to the rising of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no covering protection against the sun. He left them as they were. We completely understood what was before him. Then followed he another way until when he reached a tract between two mountains, he found beneath them a people who scarcely understood a word. They said, O chief of the horns, the Gog and Magog people, do great mischief on earth. Shall we then render thee tribute in order that thou mightest erect a barrier between us and them. He said, the power in which my Lord had established me is better than tribute. Help me therefore with strength and labor. I will erect a stronger barrier between you and them. Bring me blocks of iron. At length, when he had filled up the space between the two steep mountain sides, he said, blow with your bellows. Then, when he had made it red as fire, he said, bring me that I may pour over it molten lead. Thus were they made powerless to scale it or to dig through it. He said, this is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will make it into dust. And the promise of my Lord is true. On that day we shall leave them to surge like waves on one another. The trumpet will be blown, and we shall collect them all together, and we shall present hell that day for the unbelievers to see all spread out. Unbelievers, whose eyes had been under a veil from remembrance of me, and who had been unable even to hear. Do the unbelievers think that they can take my servants as protectors besides me? Verily we have prepared hell for the unbelievers, for their entertainment. Say, shall we tell you of those who lost most in respect to their deeds, those whose efforts have been wasted in this life, while they thought that they were acquiring good by their works? They are those who deny the signs of their Lord and the fact of their having to meet him in the hereafter. Vain will be their works, nor shall we on the day of judgment give them any weight. That is their reward, hell, because they rejected faith and took my signs and my messengers by way of jest. As to those who believe and work righteous deeds, they have for their entertainment the gardens of paradise, wherein they shall dwell forever. No change will they wish for themselves, save the oceans were ink, wherewith to write out the words of my Lord. Sooner would the ocean be exhausted than when the words of my Lord, even if we added another ocean like it for its aid. Say I am but a man like yourselves, but the inspiration has come to me that your God is one God. Whoever expects to meet his Lord, let him work righteousness, and in the worship of his Lord admit no one as partner. And so the 10 verses in specific, I guess I should, whose eyes have been under a veil to admit no one as a partner. And on the other side of the surah, praise be to God for us in the right way. And that chapter is a prime example of the aspect of the Quran that you can take it literally and figuratively. One of the figurative things I guess we could say is we're referred to the Piscean Age, in which historical Judaism appeared with the rising of the one Piscean fish, and the second Piscean fish was Paul and the appearance of Christianity, or at least one of the characters that went into Paul at the very least. And then we can look at some of the stuff that comes after that. You look at Moses, a specific thing. The messengers, avatars, sent one, whatever linguistic term you're going to use, it amounts to the same thing. The people are given the opportunity to witness to enough of the teachings for their community to be guided thereby.